Your husband is cheating on you. That's what I heard, except I didn't hear it from a friend, a private investigator, or even a gut feeling. I saw it. On national television, there he was, my husband on a luxury vacation, sipping champagne with my sister. Paid for with my money. I'm Evelyn Carter, and let me tell you, that was the moment my life changed forever. But here's the thing, I didn't cry. I didn't break. I got even. What would you do if the people closest to you betrayed you like this? Drop a comment below, I want to know. Because trust me, this story, it's just getting started. The morning light streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my Manhattan penthouse, casting a golden glow on the perfectly arranged breakfast spread. Freshly squeezed orange juice, warm croissants, and a bowl of Greek yogurt with honey and berries. I had set it out, knowing full well that Nathan wouldn't be here to eat it. He had been leaving early for weeks now, always claiming an urgent client meeting or a last-minute flight for business. I used to believe him. I used to trust that his world, our world, ran on high-stakes investments and tight schedules. Now, I wasn't so sure. I pushed my half-eaten toast aside and reached for my phone, scrolling through unread emails while sipping my coffee. The same hollow routine, the same well-maintained illusion. A quick glance at the clock told me I had about 30 minutes before my OB/GYN appointment. At 10 weeks pregnant, I still wasn't showing, but a strange nausea crept up. Not from morning sickness, but from the uneasy feeling that had taken root inside me lately. Something wasn't right. The waiting room was eerily quiet, apart from the soft hum of the TV mounted on the wall. I barely paid attention at first, flipping through emails on my phone while mindlessly stroking my stomach. Then a familiar voice filled the room, a chipper news anchor talking about the Hamptons, showcasing a luxury getaway where the city's elite had gathered for an exclusive summer retreat. I looked up. A sleek yacht bobbed in the background, glasses of champagne clinking in the hands of Manhattan's wealthiest socialites. The camera panned over a sunlit deck, capturing the smiling faces of the privileged few. Then, my breath caught in my throat. There, front and center, was Nathan, my husband, the man who had told me just this morning that he was on a conference call, and he wasn't alone. Beside him, clutching his arm like she belonged there, was Sophia, my younger sister. I felt the blood drain from my face as I watched them laughing together, sipping champagne like they were starring in a goddamn perfume commercial. She leaned in, whispering something in his ear. He smirked. They looked comfortable, intimate, like this wasn't the first time, like this was normal for them. The screen cut to a panoramic shot of the ocean, the anchor gushing about the most extravagant event of the season. I barely heard her. The room suddenly felt suffocating. My chest tightened, my fingers clenching around my phone. I forced myself to breathe. My heart was pounding so hard I thought people might hear it. But no one else in the waiting room noticed my world shattering in real time. Hands shaking, I opened my bank app. Nathan and I shared an account for household expenses. It was mostly for show. I made my own money, and so did he. But as the transactions loaded, a cold horror gripped me. $10,000, luxury Hampton stay. $5,200, private yacht rental. $3,800, exclusive spa package. $1,500, high-end boutique, all within the last 48 hours. My stomach lurched. This wasn't just a trip. This was a goddamn vacation, on my dime. Then a text notification popped up from Mom. "We're so proud of you, honey. You're strong. You don't need to worry about little things like this." Little things like this? Did she know? I clenched my jaw, my pulse roaring in my ears. Of course she knew. They all did. I exhaled shakily and clicked on Nathan's contact. The line rang twice before he picked up. His voice was smooth, calm, completely unbothered. "Hey, babe," he said. "Can't talk now. I'm in a meeting." I stared at the screen, at the live image of him on a yacht, and felt something inside me snap. In a meeting? My voice came out too steady, too even. "Yeah," he said without hesitation. "Important clients." I glanced back at the TV. Sophia was draped over him, giggling. Important clients, my ass. I didn't respond, just let the silence stretch between us. Nathan cleared his throat. Everything okay? I almost laughed. Almost, but I had nothing left to say to him, so I hung up. The nurse called my name, but I barely heard her. I walked out of the clinic without even checking in. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. Instead, I got into my car, gripped the steering wheel, and forced myself to breathe. Long, slow, deliberate breaths. They thought they could humiliate me. They thought they could strip me of my dignity and leave me broken. They thought wrong. I wasn't the kind of woman who got played. I wasn't the kind of woman who let betrayal go unanswered. If they thought they could destroy me and walk away unscathed, they were gravely mistaken. I wiped away the last shred of weakness clinging to me and reached for my phone again. But this time, I wasn't calling Nathan. I was calling my lawyer. Trust takes years to build, seconds to break, and a lifetime to repair. But I wasn't interested in repairs. I was interested in destruction. The moment I stepped back into my penthouse, I saw it differently. The space I had once considered my sanctuary, a home I built, designed, and paid for, felt tainted now. The plush furniture, the sleek marble countertops, the framed wedding photos that still hung on the walls like some sick joke. This wasn't a home. This was a crime scene. I kicked off my heels, the sound of them hitting the hardwood floor echoing through the empty apartment. My hands clenched at my sides as I walked straight to my office. I didn't need tears. I needed the truth. The room was dim, the only light coming from my laptop screen as I flipped it open and cracked my knuckles. Nathan thought he was smart. He played the role of the powerful husband, the financial genius. He thought he had me fooled. But he had one weakness. He never imagined I'd fight back. I tried to log into his email, fingers typing in the familiar password. Incorrect. I frowned and tried again. Incorrect. My breath hitched. Nathan never changed his passwords. Ever. So why now? Panic clawed up my spine, but I forced myself to think. There had to be another way. My gaze flicked to my phone. There was only one person I knew who could break into this faster than I could. I scrolled through my contacts and hit the call button. Well, well, a smooth voice drawled on the other end. Evelyn Carter, haven't heard from you in a while. Not the time, Mason, I said sharply. I need access to an email account. Urgently. There was a pause, then a soft chuckle. Let me guess. Husband trouble? Something like that. Mason was an old friend. Well, more like an old mistake. A hacker I had met in college who had a talent for breaking into places he wasn't supposed to. We'd kept in touch, loosely, but I never thought I'd actually need his skills. Until now. Text me the details, he said. I'll see what I can do. I did, and then I waited. 5 minutes, 10, 15. Then my laptop pinged. A new email. From Mason. Try this. Oh, and you owe me dinner. I ignored that last part and copied the temporary credentials he had sent me. My fingers trembled slightly as I tried again. This time, it worked. Access granted. I exhaled slowly, then got to work. I started with his most recent emails, flight confirmations to the Hamptons, 5-star hotel bookings, dinner reservations at restaurants I had never been invited to. Then came the expense reports. I clicked through the files, my eyes narrowing as I saw a string of luxury purchases. $12,000, Cartier bracelet, $8,500, Chanel handbag, $4,000, spa retreat. None of it for me. My stomach churned as I clicked on a forwarded receipt, sent from Nathan to Sophia. Got you the bag you wanted, baby. Evelyn won't notice. I slammed my fist onto the desk. That bastard. But it got worse. I needed more. This wasn't enough. If Nathan was this careless with his spending, there had to be something bigger, something he was hiding. I switched tabs, diving into his financial transactions. If he was stupid enough to cheat on me with my own sister, then he was certainly stupid enough to leave a trail. My pulse hammered as I opened our shared bank account. Wire transfers, dozens of them, sent not just to Sophia, but to my parents. I swallowed hard, scrolling through the messages attached to them. Mom, Sophia needs some extra cash, sweetheart. You know Evelyn is fine. She has everything. Let her handle it. Dad, we're family. What's a few $1,000s here and there? They knew. They all fucking knew. I gritted my teeth as I dug deeper, uncovering a $50,000 transfer from my parents' account to Sophia. So this wasn't just an affair. This was theft. They weren't just bystanders. They were complicit. My hands clenched into fists. This wasn't just about Nathan anymore. It was bigger, dirtier. And if there was money moving under the table, I needed to know who else was involved. I grabbed my phone and dialed again. Mason, I said the moment he picked up, I need you to dig deeper. Offshore accounts, hidden assets, anything that isn't in my name but should be. There was a pause, then a low whistle. You really want to burn it all down, huh? To the fucking ground, Mason laughed. All right, give me a few hours. I'll see what I can find. I ended the call, my heart pounding. This wasn't just about cheating. This was about robbing me blind and thinking I'd just take it. I took a deep breath and reached for my phone again. I scrolled through my contacts until I found the number I needed. Daniel Hayes, top-tier divorce lawyer, ruthless, calculated, exactly what I needed. The phone rang twice before he picked up. Evelyn, he greeted smoothly, to what do I owe the pleasure? I didn't waste time. I need a divorce lawyer, I said, voice steady, and I need a financial investigator, immediately. Daniel chuckled like he had been waiting for this call. Well, he said, this just became my favorite case. I leaned back in my chair, gripping the phone so tightly, my knuckles turned white. This wasn't going to be a messy tabloid scandal. This wasn't going to be a sob story. This was going to be an execution. Men like Nathan think they're untouchable. They build their worlds on arrogance and deceit, convinced they'll never face consequences. They forget that the woman they underestimated is the woman who built them. And now, I was about to tear it all down. Daniel's office was as sharp as the man himself, modern, minimalist, and built for war. I sat across from him, my hands folded neatly in my lap, though my pulse was anything but calm. He leaned back in his chair, scanning the documents I had compiled, emails, financial records, wire transfers. Jesus, he murmured, this isn't just infidelity, Evelyn. This is fraud. I already knew that. Nathan wasn't just a cheating husband, he was a criminal. I straightened my spine. How fast can we move? Daniel smirked. Depends. Do you want to ruin him all at once or piece by piece? I tilted my head, considering it. I want him to think he can escape. I want him to fight. And then I want him to watch everything collapse around him. Daniel chuckled. That's my kind of client. He pulled out a set of forms and pushed them toward me. Divorce papers. This, he said, tapping the top page, is just the beginning. I picked up the pen without hesitation and signed my name. Goodbye, Nathan. Filing for divorce wasn't enough. Nathan's greatest weakness wasn't losing me, it was losing control. So, while Daniel initiated the legal battle, I set something else in motion. I made a call to a contact inside his firm. Nathan's financial dealings weren't just unethical, they were illegal. Creative accounting, falsified expenses, corporate embezzlement. And now, his company was about to take a very close look at him. That night, I sat in the dim glow of my penthouse, scrolling through old pictures of my life, the life I had built, the life he had ruined. I stopped at the news article from the Hamptons, Nathan and Sophia draped over each other like royalty, sipping champagne on my dime. I exhaled slowly, then I typed, "To my husband and my sister, thank you for the most expensive lesson of my life. Hope the trip was worth it." Attached. The photos from the news broadcast. I hovered over the post button. Once I did this, there was no going back. I smiled and I pressed it. The reaction was instant. My phone exploded with notifications. Comments poured in. Disbelief, outrage, gasps of horror. Wait, her sister? Damn, she just ended their entire bloodline. Nathan Carter is done. Within minutes, the post was everywhere. Within hours, it was on gossip blogs, finance news, even mainstream media. Nathan's name, once respected, was now being dragged through the dirt by thousands of strangers, and he had no idea yet. The next morning, Nathan walked into his firm, confident, unbothered. He had seen the headlines, he had seen my post, and he thought he could handle it. Then he saw the faces of his colleagues, the stiff silence, the sidelong glances. Then came the email, mandatory emergency meeting, then the hushed whispers as he walked past. "Did you see the post?" His wife just went nuclear. They're already investigating him. Nathan barely had time to sit before his boss walked in, expression unreadable. A folder hit the table in front of him. "Explain this," his boss said coldly, sliding over his flagged transactions. First came the confusion, then the realization, then the panic. But Nathan wasn't the type to crumble instantly. He leaned back, forced a smirk, and started talking. "Gentlemen, let's not overreact. These are routine expenses, a misunderstanding at best. I've made this firm billions. You think I'd throw that away for a little accounting mishap?" His boss's stare was cold. A forensic audit says otherwise. Nathan's jaw tightened. An audit. That meant they weren't just looking, they were digging. He swallowed hard but kept his composure. He needed to fix this. As soon as the meeting ended, he locked himself in his office. He called the press. He tried to control the narrative. "This is nothing but a bitter ex-wife lashing out, jealousy, a smear campaign. I have lawyers on this." He called his investors. "Stay with me. The firm is solid. These are false accusations." He called his PR team. "Spin this. Make me the victim." But no one was picking up. 2 hours later, the press conference happened. Nathan stood in front of the cameras, flashing the same confident grin he had used to close billion-dollar deals. "I understand that recent events have caused some unfortunate speculation," he said smoothly. "Let me be clear. These allegations are baseless. My wife is—" The reporters didn't let him finish. "Nathan, what about the leaked transactions? Can you explain the wire transfers to your sister-in-law? Are you saying your wife fabricated the financial reports?" Nathan faltered. For the first time, the man who had always been in control had no answers. And then, the bomb dropped. A reporter in the back raised her hand. "Nathan, do you have any comments on the criminal investigation just launched by the SEC?" Nathan's breath caught. The room erupted. Panic, questions, flashing cameras. Nathan turned and walked out. By noon, Nathan was suspended. By evening, the board had launched a full-scale investigation. By nightfall, he had finally seen my post. My phone rang. Nathan's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring. Then I blocked his number. But he wasn't done yet. That night, Nathan sat in his dark apartment surrounded by half-empty whiskey bottles and crumpled papers. He wasn't out. Not yet. He had one card left to play. He was going to fight. He just didn't know that no matter what he did, I was always one step ahead. Nathan always bragged that he built his success from nothing. Well, now he was about to have nothing again, thanks to me. I leaned back in my chair, sipping my coffee as the city hummed outside my penthouse windows. New York never slept, but today it was watching a king fall. I scrolled through my phone, refreshing the news. The headlines were brutal. High-profile investor Nathan Carter under investigation for financial misconduct. Billionaire playboy caught in scandal. Wife's social media post exposes affair and fraud. I smirked. They were just getting started. Nathan walked into his office that morning thinking he could fix this. He'd spent the night on the phone, making calls to the firm's board members, to investors, to journalists. His voice had been smooth, confident at first. "Gentlemen, this is just a misunderstanding, a smear campaign orchestrated by my wife. We've seen this before, women lashing out when they don't get what they want." But no one was convinced. Some didn't pick up. Some made excuses. Others gave short, clipped responses. "Nathan, I can't be involved in this. I suggest you get ahead of this legally. The SEC is already looking into you. This is bigger than PR. For For the first time in years, Nathan felt something foreign settle in his chest. Fear. By the time he arrived, everyone already knew. The moment he stepped into the building, the shift was palpable. Colleagues who once greeted him with admiration averted their eyes. Assistants whispered behind their hands. His secretary wouldn't even meet his gaze. The elevator ride to the executive floor was eerily silent. And when the doors slid open, the board was waiting for him. A long, polished table, 12 executives, cold stares, thick folders stacked in front of them. Nathan adjusted his tie, flashing the same confident grin he had used to close billion-dollar deals. "Gentlemen," he said smoothly, "I assume you want to clear up this ridiculous story." His boss, Charles Harding, cut him off. "We're not here about your personal affairs, Nathan," he said flatly. "We're here about the money." Nathan's grin faltered. Harding slid a folder across the table. "Explain these transactions." Nathan glanced down. His own signature stared back at him. Wire transfers, false invoices, falsified client expenses. His heart pounded, but he forced a smirk. "Misunderstandings," he said quickly, flipping through the pages. "Routine transactions." Harding didn't blink. "A forensic audit says otherwise." Nathan's stomach turned. A forensic audit? This wasn't just an internal slap on the wrist. This was serious. Nathan left the meeting in a cold sweat, but refused to accept defeat. He needed to control the media. He called his PR team. "This is nothing but a smear campaign. We need a press statement, something that makes Evelyn look unstable." But his PR manager hesitated. "Nathan, there's already too much out there. People believe her. We can't spin this without hard proof." He hung up and dialed an old media contact. "I need an exclusive interview, a chance to set the record straight." The journalist laughed. "Nathan, you don't need an interview. You need a miracle." Click. Nathan slammed his phone down. No one was backing him. Meanwhile, across the city, Sophia was facing her own crisis. She had woken up in their hotel suite, stretching luxuriously, expecting breakfast in bed. Instead, she found her credit cards declined. She tried again, declined. Panic clawed up her throat. She grabbed her phone, dialing Nathan. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. Her heart pounded as she checked her bank balance. Nearly empty. The realization hit her like a freight train. Nathan was broke, and if Nathan was broke, so was she. She grabbed her designer purse and stormed out of the suite. She needed to find Nathan. Back in the boardroom, Nathan was still trying to salvage the unsalvageable. "I can fix this," he insisted. "I just need time." Harding stood. "You don't have time, Nathan. You're fired." Silence fell over the room. Nathan's mouth opened, but no words came out. His career, his reputation, his power, gone. And then, the final dagger. Harding gestured to security. "Escort Mr. Carter out." Nathan barely had time to grab his briefcase before he was marched out of the office he once ruled. Every eye in the building was on him. Some pitied him, most didn't. As he stepped onto the street, dazed, his phone buzzed. A single message from Sophia. "Nathan, we need to talk. Where's the money?" Nathan felt something snap inside him. Sophia didn't ask if he was okay. She didn't care about the scandal. She only cared about the money. And she was about to leave him, too. I refreshed the news again. The latest update popped up immediately. Nathan Carter officially terminated from Carter and Gold Financial. I let out a slow breath. It was beautiful, watching his world crumble piece by piece. But I wasn't done, not even close. Nathan and Sophia weren't just going to lose their money. They were going to lose everything. A man without money is just a man. But a man without power? That's a nobody. And I was about to make Nathan Carter a nobody. Nathan had built his life on excess, expensive suits, first-class flights, luxury watches that cost more than some people's mortgages. He walked through life like he owned the world, but he didn't. Not anymore. Because while he was scrambling to control the narrative, to salvage whatever was left of his empire, I was one step ahead. I sat on my couch, laptop open, fingers flying over the keyboard as I dismantled his finances with surgical precision. Cancel every credit card, freeze every shared account, close every loophole he thought he could use. It was shockingly easy. Nathan had always left the financial logistics to me. The irony was almost poetic. The man who prided himself on power had handed it all to me without even realizing it, and now I was taking it back. Across town, Nathan Carter was about to have the worst morning of his life. He strolled into his usual coffee shop, reaching into his pocket for his American Express black card. Declined. Frowning, he tried another. Declined. The barista shifted awkwardly as the line behind him grew impatient. Nathan let out a forced chuckle. There must be a mistake. He pulled out his phone, opened his banking app. His accounts? Frozen, his investments locked, his savings gone. His heart pounded. This wasn't a mistake. This was me. Then things got worse. Nathan turned to leave, still processing what had just happened, but the whispers had already started. Is that Nathan Carter? Did you see the news? He's broke. Damn, how the mighty fall. The cameras came next. Paparazzi had been tailing him for days, waiting for a moment like this. Mr. Carter, how does it feel to lose everything? Nathan, are you officially bankrupt? Did your wife outplay you? Nathan kept his head down, shoving through the crowd. He needed to get away. But where? He rushed back to the only place that still felt stable, his hotel suite, or at least it had been his. The moment he stepped inside, the concierge intercepted him. Mr. Carter, we need to talk. Nathan frowned. What is it? Your payment for the suite was declined, the concierge said, lowering his voice but not enough to keep the nearby guests from hearing. We need you to settle the bill immediately. Nathan felt every pair of eyes in the lobby turn toward him. He forced a smile. There must be a mistake. I'll transfer the funds now. He pulled out his phone, except he already knew what was coming. Payment failed, again, and then came the final blow. If you can't provide payment, we'll have to ask you to leave. The words hit like a slap. Nathan stared at the man, disbelief flickering in his eyes. I've spent millions at this hotel, he hissed. And now you owe us $10,000, the concierge said coolly, and you can't pay. The elevator doors slid open. Security stepped out. People in the lobby were watching. Phones were recording. Nathan had no choice. He grabbed his things and walked out, humiliated. Nathan rushed home, to the penthouse he could no longer afford. He stormed inside, slamming the door behind him, fists clenched. Sophia, he barked. Where's your card? Sophia, draped in silk, scrolling through Instagram, barely looked up. What are you talking about? She mumbled. My cards aren't working, Nathan snapped, grabbing his laptop. Our accounts are frozen. Hour. Sophia blinked. Then she sat up. Wait, my accounts? She asked, voice sharp. Nathan was too busy typing, trying to access his finances, to notice the first crack in her loyalty. Sophia grabbed her phone, checking her balance. Her eyes widened. She gasped. Nathan, she breathed. Where's my money? Nathan ignored her, his eyes darting across the screen. He needed a solution. Then, as if the universe wanted to remind him just how far he had fallen, a headline popped up on the news feed. Billionaire divorcee Evelyn Carter expands financial empire. Nathan felt the floor tilt beneath him. His wife, no, ex-wife, wasn't just divorcing him, she was thriving. Sophia stared at him, her expression shifting from annoyance to panic. Nathan, she snapped, fix this. He finally looked at her, and in that moment he saw it. Sophia wasn't worried about him. She wasn't angry because he was struggling. She was angry because he had nothing left to give her. And suddenly, he realized something else. She wasn't staying. She was looking for a way out. Nathan's chest tightened. His world was crumbling and he had no one left. No firm, no allies, no money. And now, Sophia was slipping through his fingers too. Then she did exactly what he feared. She picked up her phone and made a call. Hi, Richard. Yeah, I think we should meet up. Nathan felt sick. She had already found a replacement. He had one last card to play. Mr. I heard the knocking before I even checked the peephole. Hard, desperate, familiar. I smiled to myself, right on schedule. I pulled the door open slowly. Nathan stood there, disheveled, his once pristine suit wrinkled like he had slept in it. For the first time, he looked small. He forced a weak smile. Evelyn. I raised an eyebrow. Nathan. His Adam's apple bobbed. He was nervous. Look, we can fix this. I blinked at him. Then I laughed. For the first time in years, I laughed. Because this was it. The moment I had been waiting for. Nathan Carter, the man who had betrayed me, stolen from me, humiliated me, was standing at my door, begging. She thought she won. She thought she could take my life, my husband, my money, everything I built, and make it hers. But the thing about stolen things, they never last. And now karma was knocking on Sophia Carter's door. Sophia had always prided herself on living well without working hard. She had spent years hopping from one opportunity to the next, dating rich men, faking connections, riding on my success whenever it was convenient. But when she sank her claws into Nathan, she thought she hit the jackpot. She thought she would never have to work again. Now, she was broke, and it was glorious. It started with her real estate career. She had always been flashy, never responsible, selling multi-million-dollar properties to clients she barely understood. But real estate required credibility, trust, a good name, and after the scandal, she had none. Clients stopped calling, deals fell through. Then, the final blow. Her real estate license was revoked. Fraudulent transactions, false advertising, misuse of client funds. An investigation exposed it all. She was officially blacklisted. And in an industry where image was everything, she was a ghost. Sophia wasn't the type to accept defeat, so she did what she always did. She tried to find another man to save her. She showed up at a high-profile charity gala, draped in the last designer dress she could afford. The game plan was the same. Bat her lashes, sip expensive champagne, latch onto the next rich fool, and for a moment, it seemed to work. She locked eyes with Jonathan West, tech millionaire, newly single, easy target. She slid up to him, offering her best coy smile. Mind if I steal you for a dance? Jonathan smirked, taking her hand. I've heard about you. Sophia preened. All good things, I hope. Jonathan's smile didn't reach his eyes. Not quite. Then the whispers started. Then the phones came out. Screens lit up with an Instagram post, a side-by-side of her laughing on a yacht with Nathan Carter, and a news headline about Nathan's fraud case. The caption, Gold Digger Alert. Sophia's stomach dropped. The whole room was watching. Jonathan let go of her hand, eyes full of amusement and disgust. Nice try, he said before walking away. The laughter came next. Whispers turned into outright mockery. The cameras flashed. Humiliation settled over her like a weight she couldn't shake. For the first time, she had nowhere to run. She fled the party, head down, hands shaking. But reality didn't stop just because she walked away. She walked into a luxury boutique the next morning, desperate to feel important again. Draped in designer clothes she hadn't paid for yet, she strutted to the register with a $10,000 handbag. She handed over her platinum credit card with a smug smile. The cashier swiped it, declined. Sophia's smile faltered. Try again. Swipe. Declined. A nervous chuckle. She pulled out another card. Swipe. Declined. Panic flickered across her face. This is ridiculous, she snapped. Just charge it under Nathan Carter's account. The cashier hesitated, then said softly, Ma'am, Nathan Carter's account has been closed. The words hit her like a slap. She staggered back, fingers gripping the counter. Nathan was broke. She was broke, and everyone in the store was watching. A woman standing nearby gasped. Wait, isn't that the gold digger from Twitter? Another woman whispered, God, she looks desperate. A teenage girl held up her phone and started recording. Sophia turned and bolted out of the store, empty-handed, humiliated. For the first time, she had no safety net, and she knew it. She called Nathan. Voicemail. She called again. Blocked. She called my parents. They didn't pick up. Even they didn't want to deal with her now. She had burned every bridge. She was alone, completely. That night, my phone buzzed. A name I hadn't seen in weeks. Sophia. A single text. Evelyn, please, I messed up. Help me? I stared at the screen. The girl who had stabbed me in the back. The sister who had stolen everything she could. The woman who thought she could replace me. I typed back, tough luck, sweetheart. And then I blocked her number. I sat back, exhaling slowly. She was officially out of my life. She wanted my life. Now, she had nothing. Winning isn't about revenge. It's about never letting them have power over you again. For so long, I had been fighting for justice, for closure, for the truth. I had torn down everything that tied me to my past, but what I hadn't figured out was how to build something new. Seattle was supposed to be my fresh start, but starting over wasn't as easy as I thought. Seattle was different, quieter, cleaner, untouched by my past. I had spent years in New York surrounded by power, wealth, and deception. It had chewed me up and spit me out. But here, I was anonymous. No whispers, no pitying glances, no past looming over me. And yet, that didn't mean it was easy. For the first few weeks, the silence was deafening. I had spent so long living in chaos that peace felt unnatural. I struggled to adjust. The city was beautiful, but I didn't know a soul. No familiar faces, no invitations to exclusive events, no high-powered business dinners. Just me, my laptop, and the quiet realization that rebuilding was lonelier than I had expected. Within a month, I had set up my own financial consulting firm. It wasn't glamorous, not yet. There were no high-rise office buildings or million-dollar contracts. Just me, a small office space, and a handful of clients who had taken a chance on me. I spent late nights drafting proposals, building a website, marketing my services from scratch. I had to prove myself all over again. But slowly, the word spread. Women started reaching out. Some I knew, some I didn't, sharing their own stories of betrayal, of starting over, of reclaiming their power. They thanked me for inspiring them. But the truth was, they inspired me. They reminded me that I wasn't just surviving, I was building something that mattered. For the first time in years, I felt truly free. One afternoon, I stopped at a small cafe near my office, ordering my usual black coffee, no sugar. The place was quiet, the kind of cafe where no one was in a hurry, the kind of place I never had time for before. I was flipping through emails when I caught a conversation at the table next to me. Two women were talking about a messy divorce, about an ex-husband who thought he could destroy them. Their words hit too close to home. I should have felt solidarity. Instead, I felt something else. Doubt. Would I ever really move on? Or would I always be the woman who got burned? I sighed and reached for my drink at the same time someone else did. Our hands brushed. I looked up. Dr. Oliver Reed. We had met before, casually, in passing. He was a pediatrician with a kind smile and steady eyes, the type of man I never used to notice because I had spent years chasing the wrong kind. He smiled. Evelyn, right? I hesitated. I had been invisible for so long, by choice. And yet, he saw me. I nodded. That's me. We talked. About nothing. About everything. No hidden agendas, no power plays, no pretenses. I was waiting for the catch. But there wasn't one. Just a man and a woman sitting in a cafe talking like the past didn't exist. Then, as he stood to leave, he hesitated. I know a great dinner spot, he said, voice easy. No pressure. And for the first time in a long time, I said yes. Not because I was looking for love, not because I needed it, but because, for the first time, I was choosing it for myself. No guilt, no ghosts from the past, just a new beginning. Happiness isn't about what you gain. It's about what you refuse to lose again. For so long, I thought revenge would bring me peace. That if I made them suffer the way they made me suffer, I would finally be able to breathe. But the truth? Freedom isn't about getting even. It's about walking away and never looking back. The Seattle skyline stretched before me, bathed in the soft hues of sunrise. This was my city now, my new life, my clean slate. I sat by the window, coffee in hand, scrolling through the morning headlines out of habit. And then I saw it. A name I hadn't thought about in weeks. Disgraced financier Nathan Carter declares bankruptcy, evicted from luxury apartment. I clicked on the article. Curiosity, nothing more. The story was short, almost forgettable. Nathan had burned through what little remained of his fortune. The firm had distanced itself, the investors had fled, and his assets had been liquidated. He was no one now, no power, no wealth, no name worth remembering. For a moment, I waited for the satisfaction to hit me, for that final thrill of victory, but it never came. Instead, I felt nothing, because he didn't matter anymore. My phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Sophia. A single text. Evelyn, I don't know where else to go. I stared at it. Years ago, that message would have wrecked me. I would have agonized over it, fought with myself, felt some twisted sense of responsibility for the girl who had betrayed me. But now she was just a memory. I let the message sit there for a moment, lingering between us like a final unspoken goodbye. Then I swiped left, blocked. Not out of anger, not out of spite, but because she no longer existed in my world. She had spent years trying to take my life, and in the end, she had destroyed her own. I had nothing left to say. I set my phone down, exhaling slowly. For the first time, there was no weight on my chest, no anger, no resentment, just peace. I stood up, walking over to a small wooden box tucked away in the corner of my apartment. Inside was the last remnant of my past, the wedding photo, Nathan in his tux, me in my gown, a picture-perfect lie. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I stepped onto my balcony, holding the photo between my fingers. The cool breeze rustled through my hair as the city stretched below me. Seattle felt like freedom. New York had been a battleground. But here I was weightless. I took one last look at the picture. Then I let it go. The wind carried it away, swirling it through the air before it disappeared into the city below. I didn't need a past to burn. I just needed to stop carrying it. And now, I finally had. A soft knock at my door pulled me from my thoughts. I set my coffee down and walked over, opening it to find Oliver standing there, hands in his pockets, smiling. "Ready to go?" he asked. I grabbed my coat. Absolutely. Winning had never been about revenge. It had always been about freedom. And now, I was finally free. And for the first time in my life, I was truly happy. Looking back, I realize now that my victory wasn't about destroying Nathan and Sophia. It wasn't about getting even or proving a point. It was about reclaiming myself. For so long, I thought my worth was tied to the life I built with Nathan, the marriage, the money, the image. But the truth? The most powerful thing I ever did was walk away and build something new, on my own terms. If there's one thing I want you to take from my story, it's this. Your strength is not measured by what you endure, but by what you refuse to tolerate. I know many of you watching this might be in situations that feel impossible. Maybe you've been betrayed. Maybe you feel trapped. Maybe you think starting over is too hard. But let me tell you, it's never too late to choose yourself. You don't have to seek revenge. You don't have to fight battles to prove your worth. Sometimes the greatest revenge is simply living well, moving on, and never letting them have power over you again. So let me ask you, have you ever been in a situation where walking away was the best decision of your life? Or do you think revenge is necessary sometimes? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. If this story resonated with you, let me know where you're watching from by commenting number 1. And if you disagree with how I handled things, tell me why. I welcome every perspective. And if you want more stories like this, hit that subscribe button so you never miss one. Because sometimes the best stories are the ones that remind us of our own strength. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.